All right, so welcome to our CDM room. We're going to talk today about consumer decision-making reasons. I know a lot of you are doing consumer. I know a lot of you that are in this room, I recognize quite a few of the names. Some of you may have not done the consumer reasons, but we hope that it will help you out a little bit getting going for our contest. So most of you know the District 8 CDM contest will be taking place on April 15th. Make sure that you get your entries in. I think those are next Saturday. And then hopefully, is anybody not from District 8? If you're not from District 8, can you tell me your county in the chat box just so we can get a look at who we have? Or you know what, just so everybody knows, why don't you all put your counties in the chat box for me, just so we can kind of see who's all out there. Fantastic. District 4 Tarrant, Bell County, great. All right, Bell County, quite a few Bell County. Good job, Barbara, for advertising this. Williamson County, yay. Got some Williamson County people in there too. All right, we're waiting on a couple of others. So great, got a great group from everyone. So thank y'all for joining us today. We are going to go ahead and get into reasons. All right. So when we start out with reasons, Luke is going to tell us why is it great to do reasons in general?
It's great to do reasons because they help students learn how to structure and organize their thoughts and decision-making skills. They also provide great public speaking skills. It teaches them how to be confident while they're speaking. It helps them in their other 4-H projects that have public speaking. It helps them in schoolwork with speaking, presentations, as well as writing essays and organizing thoughts.
Awesome. So some great skills, great life skills. That's what I love about the consumer contest, as well as giving reasons in consumer, because you will use this throughout your entire life and for the rest of your life. And that's adults and youth included. So when you're giving reasons for consumer, there's been quite a debate on that. But consumer reasons are different from livestock and horse judging reasons. They are definitely, livestock and horse judging reasons are definitely accepted at a consumer decision-making contest. Now, consumer reasons may not be as much accepted in the world of livestock and horse judging, but definitely I always encourage any of my kids that are livestock judges or horse judges and they come over to the consumer judging contest, I tell them, I say, do not ever change your way of thinking and your organizational thoughts of giving reasons with livestock or horse to do CDM. I want you to keep those, but maybe take a few notes, add in a little bit extra, maybe the scenario, whatnot, when you're doing those reasons. But again, I think they all work well with consumer, but again, consumer reasons may not work as well over in the livestock and horse area. However, I will tell you, when I grew up, when I did consumer decision making, my coach was actually a horse judging coach that taught me how to do reasons in consumers. So, and then I've kind of just changed it and amended it throughout all the years that I've been in consumer decision making. All right. So again, I love that consumer reasons. They do provide a scenario in the reasons, and they also, this definitely helps them come up with a consumer mind frame rather than on, say, a livestock and horse judging, or more of a, I call it almost harsher set. Not that they're bad, it's harsh. They have a strict guideline on how they do their reasons for livestock and horse, whereas consumers more of a laid back kind of, it's still strict and formatted, but it's more laid back, more, as I would say, family, community, health minded. So those are just some thoughts on that. When placing and using your consumer decision making, getting into how do we get those reasons ready to go. First, if we place the class 1, 2, 3, 4, that's what I'm going to use my example because it's much easier when talking through them and teaching them. But in your top pair would be, say, 1 over 2. Again, placing would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Your top pair would be 1 over 2. Then your middle pair would be 2 over 3. And then your bottom pair would be 3 over 4. So when you're talking about these pairs, you always want to use that. That helps you not just talk about the reasons as public speaking, but it also helps organize your thoughts. So in the top pair, what you would do is, if it's 1 over 2, you'd say why 1 was better than 2. And also, not only that, but why is 1 an overall better product than all of the others? So you're going to talk about why is it better than 2, as well as why is it the best product in the class. Then you're going to talk about the middle pair, which is why 2 is better than 3. This is when we start talking only, again, don't go back to any of the other items. You're going to say why 2 is better than 3. All right, and then on your bottom pair, you're going to talk about why 3 is better than 4. And then lastly, you're going to talk about why 4 is last and the worst product overall. So again, your first product, number 1, if that's ranked first, it's always going to be good things, while your product last is going to be always bad. So here's that. I'm a visual person. I have to have visuals all the time, so this helps me out, but this is just kind of a little chart that I created to help you out. So again, this shows the top, the middle, and the bottom pair. It talks about why 1 is better than 2, and again, I have a nice little smiley face showing that why number 1 is always the best. Then we have our middle pair and our bottom pair, and you're going to notice back on the bottom, it says add a grant or criticism. And you're going to actually, we're going to talk about that in just a minute, so hang tight on grant and criticism. And then if you notice, again, why is 2 better than 3? Then on the bottom pair, why is 3 better than 4? And then on the very last, why is product 4 last? Now let me add on 4. When you're talking about the item last, if you notice it doesn't fit into the pairs, you always talk about it all by itself. So you're, again, going to have that top, middle, bottom, and then you talk about why is 4 last all by itself. Why is this product ranked last? Then also, if it is overpriced, I always really encourage my intermediates and seniors to always give me something else that's also bad about that product. So why it's last, number 4 is last, and it's overpriced. Maybe it was for nutritious snacks, it was the highest in sugar, and so therefore it was a bad product. Or maybe it was, TVs is what we're giving reasons over tonight for my kids. So why is 4th place last? Maybe because it was not an HDR TV. So that would be why it was also placed last, not just because it was overpriced. All right, do I have any questions? I want to give just a second on that. Any questions? Trying to give you just a second. Teacher's pause. All right, we're going to go on to the next. Okay. Oh, okay, just making sure. All right, on to our next. Grants and criticisms. I don't know if any of y'all have heard, tell me this, raise your hand, or tell me in the comments. How many have ever heard the old fable or old thing that says that you have to keep salt and pepper together? When you move it for etiquette, salt and pepper has to be moved together on the table. It has to stay together at all times. How many have heard that before? Good, quite a few have. Great, excellent. Y'all can put your hands down now. So when you use grants and criticism, I always say that you need to make sure that you put grants and criticisms together. So make sure that you never do one without the other. Always put them together. When we're doing grants and criticisms reasons, I always try to tell my intermediates to use them at least once and my seniors to use them at least twice. Now, sometimes, depending on what they place the class and how they have the class set up and there's not enough grants and criticism options, then you may not be able to provide that one, but you should be able to, at one point in time, put a grant and criticism in your reasons. All right, so let's talk about a grant. What do you think of grant? Is a grant good or bad? Tell me. Y'all can even turn on your voice if you want. Is a grant good or bad?
It's something good about the product.
Good job. Thank you, Jake. It is. It's a good thing about the product. And a criticism, so what would be a criticism? Is it good or bad?
Something bad and negative, something that does not fit in what the scenario is asking for.
Perfect. Thank y'all. Y'all are doing wonderful. And thank you, Jake. I appreciate that. Great explanation. Y'all are doing awesome. So yes, again, grants are good things and criticisms are bad. My mom always taught me when I talked about something bad, I always end it with something good at the end. This is also kind of goes along with that same thought process. You want to always give something, criticize it, and then grant. Now, if you use grant first over criticizing, you can do that as well.
Miss
they
Micah,
really, yes, go ahead.
I had a quick question about the grants and criticisms
Sure,
and the salt and pepper thing. You're supposed to keep them together, but for the top placing, you're supposed to only say grants for the best product, correct? And for the worst product, you only say criticisms, correct?
Absolutely. I really honestly on that, Jake, and that's a good question. I really prefer that you don't even use grants and criticisms in that top and that bottom area, or not bottom pair, but on that bottom item. I would really recommend you to only do them on the middle and the bottom pair. So that way they stay together. That help you out?
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. I'm glad you're asking. Please, I like having the interaction so we don't feel like we're just talking to a computer. so we like it. So you're good. Okay, so let's talk some more about those. Again, like I was telling Jake, you want to make sure that you really put them in your middle and your bottom pairs only. That's really the best place for them, especially so that way we can keep those together and not apart. Again, like Jake was saying, if you said, oh, well, I placed 1 over 2, well, you don't want to criticize anything about 1 because it is the best product. So you can't use a criticism there. And then at the end, you're talking about why it's so bad. You don't want to say, well, I grant that it's a great product. Now, some places, horse and livestock judging, or some seniors are able to put in a criticism at the end, or a grant at the very bottom saying, while I grant that this had a really great product, it was overall the best choice, but I criticized that it was overpriced, so therefore it fell at the bottom of the class. Now that's something that you could definitely do. However, for intermediates, I definitely don't suggest that just because you're starting out. We're just trying to get that process down. We're trying to get you to use grants and criticisms because I feel like sometimes the kids get really scared about them. So trying to dive into that deep end and add those is really important. Also, another thing I want to add about grants and criticisms, anytime that you see yourself saying, I placed this snack 2 over 3, in my middle pair, I placed it 2 over 3 because it had high in sugar, but I saw that, or it was low in sugar, but I saw that it was really high in sodium. But if you use your if you hear yourself but or however or although, guess what? You can add a grant and criticism in there, okay? So if you hear yourself say but, although, however, you most likely could put a grant and criticism in there. So, let's go on to the next part. Oh, sorry. Let me go into that. Okay. In my middle, so this is an example. So I'm trying to, sorry, didn't mean to read it out. So here's an example of what I have down here. So in my middle pair, I placed 2 or 3 because, and you see on there, I criticize that 2 does not have whole grains, but I grant that it's lower in sugar than 3. So that would be a grant and criticism example for that grouping, okay? And I put the bottom pair, but I didn't add an actual example, but that gives you an example of how to do one. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead.
You said that in your middle pair, you'd place 2 over 3, and that you granted and criticized one thing about 2. Is it better to keep it even for 2, or have more grants or more criticism, or criticize more?
I would just do a set of grant and criticism for the middle pair and a set of grant and criticism for the bottom pair. I would never try to add more than one grant and criticism for the other. Now, are you talking about, like, can you say, like, I criticize that 2 doesn't have whole grains and it's high in sugar? Is that what you're saying, like saying 2 things?
Like, could
Like
you
how-
say,
how
I
would you say-
criticized that it wasn't whole grain, but I grant that it had less sugar and was less expensive?
Yeah, you can do that, totally, yeah, absolutely. Just, try to make sure that when you look at your reasons, that it makes sense when you do it. Don't try to add a grant and criticism if it doesn't make any sense.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome, good questions. You keep them rolling, I'll answer them. All right, so I'm going to have Luke, he's going to talk about now about some reason tips. So I'm going to let him do that part, okay? So go ahead, Luke.
So when starting your reasons, you always want to ask the judges if they are ready. You can shake the judge's hand. You can shake the judge's hand when you walk in, which is optional, but I myself don't do it. You can have you always need to have a concluding statement. So, therefore, I place this class of, or in conclusion, I place this class. You should try to use transitions in your reasons, such as next, finally, and in conclusion. And your grants and criticisms, and make sure you use less and more expensive, and then make sure you use pairs. You don't want to use cheap because it refers to price and quality. So by
You don't want to use, pardon me, I misheard you. You don't want to use what?
You don't want to use cheap because it refers to price and quality.
Oh, okay, cheap. Okay, I thank you.
No, you're good. I was hoping no one could hear him all right. I moved the speaker closer. Go ahead.
You also don't want to use better overall, like, or and.
And what he means by and is like if you said, I placed it 1 over 2 because it was this and it was this and it was this, and just keep on using the word and is what he means. Go ahead.
On the item in last, if it's not only over the price range, but it has other bad qualities to it, in your reasons, you don't want to write just that it's over the price limit and that it also has these bad qualities. And you don't want to be listy during your reasons. So like saying you want this and that and this and that.
So can you give an example, like, for example, how to do it?
So for example, in the scenario, Toby wants wants a tablet that has this, that, this, and that.
You want to kind of make it a conversational piece, not just a listy. Or I placed 1/2 because the TV was a great in luminosity. It had the right screen size. It had this. It had that. You know what I'm saying? What we mean by listy? Don't just share and list it like you're doing bullet points. You want
Yes,
to talk it through.
I have a question, Miss Micah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just like you were using an example of luminosity and screen size. If you do have your reasons down, like memorized and good, is it better to just keep it simple, or should you try and include a luminosity of 13 lumens with an adequate screen size at 200 inches?
Ooh, that is a really great question. I love that question, actually. Yes, anytime that you can try to add those numbers in there and the specifics, it is better that way, especially seniors when you're doing your reasons. However, if it's tripping you up so much, then sometimes you can do a kind of a midway point where you add some of their actual sizes, like 48-inch TV. And what I recommend is if it really matters, like on the actual size. Like, say, for instance, in the TVs, he wants a 65-inch TV. Well, you know what? In your reasons, you better be talking about, is it 65 inches or is it 48 inches? Or is it 85 inches? Make sure that you say those specific things. I recommend you put more details, but if it's going to trip you up a lot and it's going to mess you up a lot, I would recommend that you don't. Especially if you're a brand new intermediate, really try not to use so many of the actual detailed numbers. Does that help, Jake?
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's a great question. I'm glad you added that, because that's something that I didn't add in my presentation that I'm really glad you asked about. That was a really great question. Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
All right, we're going to go on to intermediate. It's time for Luke to do his reasons. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to let him, or can I do it? I think I can. Let's see. We're working on this, trying to figure it out. I'm going to stop sharing so that way we can see his face. All right. So Luke is going to get up as best as he can. We're in a very tight spot. I'm in a brand new office, so it's a little tight here. So we're going to, can you raise up the video so that way they can see your face? There we go. Don't you love his nice little smile there? All right, so Luke is going to do an intermediate reason. Now, go ahead.
I'm so sorry to interrupt again. Just before you started, I wanted to ask something. Are we going to be judging a class and doing reasons tonight or not?
We are actually not. I did not have plans for that. I'm just showing you examples, if that's okay.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
However, though, if you ever want to, Jake, give me a set of reasons, I will do it, even at dance if you want to, right?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
It's just some information. My kiddos go to the same dance studio that Jake's sisters go to. And Jake, I don't know, you don't do dance, right? Or do you do dance?
No, ma'am, I don't do dance, but my little sister does on Thursdays.
You just support your sisters.
Yes, ma'am.
I see Jake almost every Thursday at dance. So yeah, anytime, Jake, you want to do a set of reasons at dance one Thursday night, you just holler at me and I'll listen to them, okay?
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. All right, I'm going to have Luke do his set of reasons.
Are the judges ready? Are the judges ready?
Yes.
I placed this class of TV 1, 2, 4, 3. In this scenario, Kevin is looking for a smart TV that has good luminosity, high resolution, and since he is a gamer, he needs to have a high refresh rate. He has a budget of $1,800. In my top pair, I placed 1 over 2 because 1 was a smart TV that had HDR, it had good resolution and a good refresh rate. In my middle pair, I placed 2 over 4 because while I grant that 2, while I grant that 2 costed the least in the class and was a smart TV, I criticized and had a good resolution, but I criticized that it did not have a good refresh rate and it was an SDR. In my bottom pair, I placed 4 over 3 because I grant that 4 was an OLED, so you could see it better, but I criticized that it was not a smart TV, didn't have a good refresh rate, didn't have good luminosity, and did not have and was an SDR. I placed 3 last because it was over the price limit and it was a quantum LED, so you couldn't see it as well. Therefore, I placed this class of TVs 1, 2, 4, 3.
All right. There is Luke. All right. So on Luke's presentation, I liked, he did a little bit of both where he looked at his notes. So intermediates are able to look at notes, while seniors are not allowed. They're supposed to memorize it. Usually in competitions, Luke would have his completely memorized. I really work on my intermediates to try to get them to memorize their reasons rather than looking at their notes. However, he is allowed to look at his notes. So if you notice, he did a really great job about looking at the camera or the judge, because y'all were his judges, and keeping that eye contact. So one thing I will say, if you notice one thing he said that was not so great, he said, whoa, because he got a little lost on his notes. Yes, he said, whoa. He said, I did? I said, yes, you did. But he said, whoa. So really watch out for that. One thing that I give my my kiddos a little, just a little suggestion that really helps out with intermediates when they first start out on reasons and they're trying to do eye contact is to come up with, while they're doing their reasons on their piece of paper, come up with some type of shape. It can be a star, it can be a triangle, it could be a heart, whatever you would like to, and ever so often put one of those in there. And so when you put that shape in there, that means you need to look up at the judges. So if you're reading it and then you see a heart, you're like, oh, I need to look up and look at the judges. And that helps kids that are really nervous about not looking at their note cards and they want to read from it totally. It teaches them to start to look at the judges more. And before you know it, especially coaches that are in here, that helps you get those kids to learn to wean off that and start looking at the judges and not looking at their paper so much. So that's something that I tried. And actually, I'm sorry, Barbara. I tried that once I got to Milam County and started using that. So it worked out really well.
Mel?
Yes, go ahead.
Do the judges take off a set number of points for having notes, or is it just like a general thing?
For intermediates, they are not supposed to take off any points for having notes. However, you may get more points and get a higher score if you have them memorized.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So they're not supposed to actually take them off. However, though, they may add more on if you do well memorized. So seniors, again, though, they are welcome to. We always tell our reasons judges that you can take off points for if they bring them in. Now, I mean, we can't stop them, but they're supposed to have them memorized. So we tell judges at the senior level, you can almost knock off about 20 points just if they don't have if they're not memorized.
Is it out of 100 or out of 50? Or?
Out of 50. Out of 50.
Oh, wow. Yes,
yeah. And y'all know some ways at some of these competitions that every point matters. So if you get 5 points off of a reasons class, it could put your whole team down in scores. So it's really important to get every, I tell everybody, it makes or breaks your reasons. It really, or your reasons make or break your class, and really can hurt you really bad if you don't have good reasons. All right. Any questions on that? But again, I really encourage you, especially if you're a first year intermediate, write out those reasons, do those shapes, and every time you see that shape, look up at the judges, and that'll help you out with those. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm going to stop sharing again. And, oh, I never even ended up sharing. Okay, never mind. I'm going to show you Macy's reasons and let you, she is one of my senior kids. She was not able to join us tonight. She is actually, she was on my national team, and she won, I'm bragging on her, sorry. She actually won second place high individual at the national contest this past January, so in consumer. So she was second place overall high point person at national CDM contest. So she does it all. I apologize about the video. It came from an iPhone transition to a computer, so it didn't come over well, but you can at least hear her reasons, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and transition over to that if y'all are ready. Okay, I tried this out, so hopefully we can hear it. All right. You may want to, everyone, go ahead and turn up their volume. Go ahead and turn up all your volume because it is a quiet video, okay? Let me make sure. Oh, yeah, all the way up. So crank yours up so that way you can hear, okay?
Is the judge ready? I placed this class of television 1, 2, or 3. In this scenario, Kevin is an avid movie watcher and needs a new television to stream movies. This means that he needs his television to be a smart TV. In addition, he also asks for a high resolution and a high luminosity. He has $1,800 to spend. In my top pair, I placed 1 over 2 because 1 had a high resolution and an HDR luminosity. In addition, it also had a high refresh rate. In my middle pair, I placed 2 over 4 because while I criticized that 2 had an SDR luminosity, which is a lower quality luminosity than HDR, I grant that it was the least expensive option and had a high resolution. In my bottom pair, I placed 4 over 3 because while I highly criticized that 4 was not a smart TV, meaning that he was unable to stream movies, I grant that it had a high resolution and an HDR luminosity. I placed 3 last because not only was it over budget, it also had an abnormally large screen size. Therefore, I placed this class of television 1, 2, 4, 3. Thank you.
All right. So can some of y'all try and let me know, or not try, but let me know what your thoughts were. Does anybody have any comments on those?
She did a really good job of presenting her voice and sounding really strong and clear and sounding very confident in her reasons, which I think, I mean, I've never judged before, so my opinion's probably not. But on first impression, it seemed like she really knew what she was talking about just because of her tone and how confident she sounded.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jake. Does anybody else have any comments, any thoughts of other things that you thought about her presentation? Even versus Luke's, which was an intermediate versus a senior. Anybody have any other comments? I will add, I know Barbara's sending some stuff through, so I'm going to let her tap that out. Or Caroline, whichever one's typing. But one thing I will point out, if you notice on Luke, with Luke's, he didn't explain as much about like what a luminosity was or why it was important on the smart TV to have a smart TV. if you notice with her reasons, she explained some of that rather than just stating it. And I think that with a senior, that just really helps out a lot. And again, that helps you from being listy so much and not listing out everything. So having that explaining here and there. And if you looked at the timing, I don't know if y'all did, but she was about 1:30. So if you don't have to take the whole 2 minutes to do your reason. I think Caroline and Barbara are still typing. Does anybody else have? Also, I do want to point out, if you notice that she actually had hand motions. I think as long as you can use them appropriately, you can use your hands, but you really have to watch out about how much you use your hands when talking during the reason. So I think she did a great job helping explain it, putting them out, but then putting them back and not using them during all of it. Oh, here we go. Here's what Barbara and Caroline said. Her speech was good and the same with her tone, but I do think she was fidgeting too much. And she might have, and especially with adding, thank you, Caroline, awesome. And also using your hands a little bit, you tend to be more fidgety. So you definitely have to watch out for that. Thank you so much, Caroline. Again, I loved what Jake said. She was very confident in her manner on that. And I think that's about it. Do anybody have any other thoughts before we move on? And I do want to again thank Macy. I will let her know. And I appreciate it. She's actually done. She doesn't actually have to do consumer anymore. She did this as a favor for me. But since she's gone to nationals, she's actually done until next year, where she can only compete at invitational contests. So she won't be at district. Let's talk about some other items before we end up. I know Luke talked about it a little bit. Shaking hands, yes or no? I've heard of other coaches say, oh, it's mandatory. I've heard no. I think since the day of COVID, I really feel like you don't have to shake hands. It's completely up to that 4-H member whether they're confident or not enough to shake those judges' hands. Honestly, my opinion is if they give me as I would call it, a limp handshake, don't do the handshake. Check those kids out. If you're a coach, make sure their handshake is good. Check with your parents. If your kid's in here, check with your parents. Say, Mom, Dad, can you teach me how to shake a good hand? Make sure that you're good with shaking hands. If you're going to do it well. That's my opinion on that. However, I don't feel it's required. I don't make my 4-Hers do it. Clothes, what's suitable? Suits are not required. They do make you look nice, but I feel like if you can judge and judge well and give reasons really well, you don't have to have a suit all the time. You want it to look really nice, so nice pair of jeans and shoes, a collared shirt, no hats, no short dresses, shorts, and absolutely no ripped jeans. So if you look over here on your left end, you see this is my state, 2 state teams. This is what we usually wear to all of our 4-H contests, which are a polo shirt and jeans. Now my senior team, once they went to nationals, they did wear a suit to nationals, but that was their choosing. I feel like you can just wear polo and jeans, and if you can judge well, you can do it. Now, one rule I do want to point out this year we have required at the district level, if you are given reasons, you cannot have your county shown when you give reasons. So either tape it up or have a polo that does not signify your county on your polo. Our kids actually got new polos this year that are intermediates and seniors not showing their county. So make sure that you know that. Also, if you see in the middle, these are just some girls that I thought it was a great way to show no midriff. We don't want to see your belly button, and we don't want to see rips in your jeans. So that's just, I just got that example because I thought that'd be a great way to do it.
Miss Micah?
Yes, go ahead.
If you do, for boys, if you do choose to wear a suit, would wearing some sort of neck accessory like a tie or bow tie would that be good, or would that be too untasteful, or?
I think, yeah, definitely. You can wear a tie for sure. You don't have to wear a tie at all as long as you look really nice. I mean, again, I think a polo shirt is just as acceptable as a suit. So, and another thing is you want to think about too is how comfortable is that 4-H'er? If they're going to be extremely uncomfortable, and as Caroline was talking about fidgeting, you may not want to have a tie if that kid's going to fidget. So, Jake, if you fidget too much with a tie because it's uncomfortable and you're not used to wearing it, maybe you should go with maybe a no tie.
Yes, ma'am. I don't think I've ever had problems with fidgeting, so.
Okay, well, good. There you go. So, yeah, if you want to wear a tie, absolutely. That is completely up to you and your coach. So just make sure that you talk with your coach and see what they prefer and what they want you to wear.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
You're very welcome. I'm going to talk real quick about scoring. Again, I know Jake asked earlier, what is the top score? It's 50 for a set of reasons as well as your classes. The lowest score for an intermediate, and these, again, this is an opinion process. When I'm scoring, my lowest score for intermediates would be a 30 if I gave one out, and my lowest score for seniors could be a 20. That's just the lowest I will go for an intermediate or senior, and that's just, again, my opinion when I judge reasons. Semi-good reasons goes from 40 to 45. A great set of reasons can go 45 to 50. Points that are deducted, time limit. If you go over the 2 minutes for given reasons, you will get a significant deduction in your reason score. Not having a clear and concise set of reasons. If you're all over the place, you don't start at the right point. We've even had kids that go in there and say, well, I don't know how to do this, but I placed it 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it leaves. That would be not a good thing. Also using the likes, and so's. Luke, I'm giving him a hard time. Also, sloppy. If you have a sloppy look, as we were just talking about, again, they shouldn't really go and deduct much points for what you're wearing. I really think that's not a good idea. But again, if a girl came in with a midriff and holes in her jeans, or a boy came in with looking like they had pajamas on, then I may not give them as many points. Also, I deduct quite a bit if those seniors come in and they use their notes. I will deduct pretty far down if they use notes. Again, they are not supposed to. I know that was a good question earlier. Points should not be deducted for intermediates if they use notes. They can be deducted if they use them for seniors. Points are also, this is another question and a debate that goes across all levels. But in consumer, points should not be deducted if you cannot place the class correctly. I actually do not give, when I'm conducting a contest and running a contest, I do not give my judges the placing, because I don't want them to place the class and give you a deduction of points on your reasons because you can't place it correctly. Reasons should be set on how good can you give a set of reasons and how well can you tell me and persuade me that your set of reasons is correct. And again, time limit is 2 minutes. We just talked about that. But I feel that if you are really great at your reasons and you can get a good set, you can do it in a minute or a minute 30. You shouldn't take a full 2 minutes. If you take a full 2 minutes, then you probably elaborated way too much. And most likely your reasons are going to be your scenario probably is going to be the whole scenario. So try to do a minute or a minute 30. One other thing that I forgot to tell you about that I really want to talk to you about. A lot of kids in my consumer group, and I think even when I was in Bell County would do this a lot, when they got done with giving their scenario, like you heard these kids do, they would say, because in the scenario it might say, help them find the best buy in the scenario. Don't ever say that in your reasons. So, Jake wanted a TV that was 68 inches. He had a price limit of the 1,800. Help him find the best buy. No, don't say that in your reasons. Do not ever say that. You want those scenarios to be quick, concise, and just a simple set of reasons. Again, reasons can be livestock geared or the way I presented. It's all really what you feel comfortable as a coach, how you want to do it. I just use this method just because I think it's great for kids, because a lot of our kids are not livestock judging reasons kids, and this is more of a consumer mind frame of giving reasons. Again, not a bad thing if they do them that way. When you are, this is more for coaches, but if you're doing a contest or you're judging reasons, you want to write down all the reasons scores on a paper to get them all down before you put them on the Scantron. You also want to have a Scantron reasons bubbler that bubbles them, that's not the judge, so that way it doesn't get messed up. You also want to keep rolling. If you have judges, you're not supposed to give comments to the kids, and you're not supposed to put them on paper. So you should just be able to, kid come in, give reasons, give the score, and move on to the next people.
Ma'am?
Yes, go ahead.
Is there a limit to how much paper you get?
It all depends on that contest.
I had to rejoin if you guys want to send me back to the horse judging room again.
Oh. Sorry, they moved through again. Okay, so Jake, yes, it depends on the contest how much paper they're going to allow you to have. Some of them let them have 1 paper, 2 paper. I will tell you at nationals, they actually did not let them have paper at all at their classes unless it was the reasons class.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so the kids at nationals actually had to judge the class without doing notes. So that was quite concerning for our kids. It was very much challenging. We found ways around it, but it was very challenging.
How much time do you get to do your reasons?
You have 2 minutes to give reasons.
No, to plan your reasons, to like write them out after the classes are
okay,
done.
gotcha. Excuse me, let me get a drink real quick. I was wondering what you were asking. Now I get your question. So in most of the contests, what we do is we allow you 15 minutes. Once we set everybody down and everybody's where they need to be, we'll give you 15 minutes. And after 15 minutes, we start bringing in the first person. So now, depending, like if you're at San Antonio and you have 100 intermediates, that may be a while, or it may be that you're the first or second one up. Unfortunately, Jake, you have your last name is C, so if they ever do it by last name, you might be toward the front. But usually it's by number, so it's all kind of random on that note.
Yes, ma'am.
That usually, it should always be about 15, 20 minutes that they give you an opportunity before they start calling kids in the room. Now, again, it depends on each contest and each person that puts that contest together, but usually that's about the standard amount of time. All right, I'm trying to think. Last that I wanted to give to you is some resources. We have our Texas, and I know, Jake, you couldn't see the PowerPoint, so we'll get that to you later. But for the rest of you, if you can see on here, the Texas 4-H website, you go to Youth Project, Family and Community Health, and then Consumer Education. And then they have a thing on oral reasons. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I got the hiccup. And then there's also FCH Contest Series YouTube that's up there. They have a project information sheet you can use. The Explore Guide also gives a lesson on reasons in it. Then there's also a 2021 official classes review that you can use, and a Jeopardy. So those are all on that Texas 4-H website, I believe. If they haven't taken them down in the last, few months. And then at the very bottom is my website for Milam County 4-H. If you go, it's very simple, join4h.com. and then you click on consumer, and it has, see on the left, it has the giving reasons format, and I have that sheet that helps. I give this out to all my kids, starting out with reasons to teach them how to do reasons. And it also has, for anybody that's a coach, it has lesson plans in there for how to do your own consumer classes and to get started in consumer. So if you're a brand new coach, that also has it on there. And lastly, on there, it also has a notes page. I know I didn't talk about taking notes much today. I feel that it's very important to take notes on every single class, whether it's reasons or not. But there's a notes format if you want to use that. When I go to contests, my kids are not allowed to take that format at all. We learn about it, we use it in class for like the first 2 practices, and then after that, we never look at that note format again. They have to learn it by memory and write those charts and formats on their paper once it starts. Yes, go ahead.
So the contests do prevent you from taking in your own like skeletons and such.
Yes,
correct?
most contests will, most of them will say. However, when we went to San Antonio the other day, it was I thought it quite comical that the Megan said that you could bring in a skeleton in there, and it was actually the note format that I created on my website, thatjoy4h.com. So if you need that note format, they will allow you at San Antonio to use. It's on that website, on the Milam County website. But I thought it quite comical that it was used as the skeleton for that. But as far as my kids, if I'm your coach, you are not allowed to bring that into a contest. Does that answer your question, Jake?
Yes, ma'am.
And again, it depends on the person putting on the contest, whether they're going to let you have anything. If you come to my Central Texas Consumer Contest, I do not allow anything but blank paper. You have to write your format and do your charts and graphs once you get into the contest. So that teaches time management. All right. This is my email. You're welcome to email me. I can send you the presentation. Also my phone number, my office number, if you want to call. You can also leave a voicemail or a text on there, and I can actually get your text on there. So any other questions you have? Thank you for joining me. I know we went a little over because of the fact that we were trying to get into our rooms and get going. So I apologize for going a little bit over our time. But thank you for joining us. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you so much for having us and having this class. I really learned a lot. Thanks so much.
Good. I'm glad. That's great to hear. You made my day. I hope everybody enjoyed it and learned something as well. So thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for, you were never bothered to ask questions or send information my way. So have a great night. Oh, and they said thank you, Luke.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good night. I'm going to leave the meeting now. Is that okay?
That is perfectly fine, Jake. Y'all have a great night.
You as well, ma'am.